Welcome to Truth and Company Boxing Podcast, another segment of 20 random questions. I'm your host, John the Truth Dioria, and tonight we have professional boxer and MMA fighter, and hopefully I say his name right, Traevon Kroger. Is that how you say your name?
Yep, Traevon Kroger.
All right, the Kid Cobra. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I appreciate you taking time to come on. I know you're in camp right now for a big fight, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and this is actually a boxing fight or a boxing match. So let's talk about this real quick. So I just mentioned, obviously, your name is Traevon, the Kid Cobra Kroger. You're going to fight a guy named Ruben Garcia on November 11th at a show called Saturday Nights Are for Fighting at the MVP DSM complex at 4600 Park Avenue in Des Moines, Iowa, which is Scott Tolzman's promotion. And I actually know who that is because we're here in Minnesota. We're familiar with Scott. We're actually familiar with some of the guys on the card as well. Some of those guys have fought here before. The promotion is Extreme Maximus Boxing. Doors open up at 5. Fights start at 6. The information to get the tickets is on the bottom of my screen. NitroTickets.com you can get them at. Or if you guys can't show up for the fights, go live. You can do the stream pay-per-view, which is all capital letters BXNGTV.com. You guys can write it down. It's on the bottom of the screen right there. Definitely, if you can't make it, if you're out of town like me or out of state, tune in, pay the pay-per-view and watch all these guys fight. They train real hard, so definitely give them their due, man. So how is training camp going anyways?
It's going good. I'm about to do my last sparring session here after I get done with this interview. I'm gonna go to the gym, get a little conditioning, do my last sparring session for the fight camp. I mean, I've been training twice a day for the last probably 8 weeks now, just grinding, getting after it, going to Minnesota, getting my rounds in with some real good guys. I'm feeling like I'm in the best shape I've ever been in.
So now you just mentioned you've been coming over here to Minnesota. So where have you been going?
So I've been going over to Element is a big one. Element in St. Paul. They got Slink Proper over there. They got Andre Reed, Coach Shane, and Coach Q over there. Top of the line guys. Slink just beat Muhammad Ali's grandson the other month. So working with him was a pleasure. I always think, if I can spar with Slink, Jack, great boxer Slink, none of these guys got shit on me because Slink's a bad dude. And then I've been training, I went out to Strike Fitness. That's where Josh Clark is out of. He owns and operates it. He's a 7-1 pro boxer, 2-0 pro MMA fighter. And they got great work for me down there as a shorter, fast, little guy. It's a perfect read for what I got coming for me.
Okay, so you're getting some work over here in Minnesota. But now you actually, we'll get to it, but so you're fighting in Iowa, you're coming over to Minnesota and getting work, but don't you actually live in South Dakota?
Live in South Dakota, yep.
So you're traveling
action.
Okay, and I got one more question before we start these 20 random. I saw this on social media, so I just want to clarify it. You apparently, this isn't just another opponent. You apparently don't like this guy, and he doesn't like you. So tell me the backstory on that. Why do you two not like each other? So this isn't just business. This is a personal fight.
This is a little personal. All right, so full backstory. As an amateur, about 2.5 years ago, funny enough, me and Ruben, we were supposed to kickbox as amateur against each other on the same promotion, on Extreme Maximus. And a lot of shit talking going back and forth between the whole thing because Ruben, he's the coach at a gym called Garage Lee down in bumfuck Iowa. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in Iowa. And I'm the coach over at 605 Boxing and MMA here in Sioux Falls. Now, our students have fought each other probably 5 or 6 times now, and I'm pretty sure we're like 4-2 or 5-1 against them. So that was supposed to be like the big coach versus coach thing 2.5 years ago. Now we get to weigh-in day. I'm packing my stuff, about to drive to Des Moines or wherever it was to go weigh in. And the promoter calls me. He says, "Hey, Trey, bad news. Ruben's pulling out of the fight. He's injured or something, whatever, but he's not fighting." Now, Ruben then doesn't fight me. He goes and fights somebody else like 3 weeks later. So, pulling out of you made me cut all this weight. And the biggest thing is, at least tell me the week before, bro. I just got done cutting probably 10 pounds. And I get the phone call. "Hey, by the way, you didn't even need to do that. You're not fighting." And then going forward, I go to the show anyways because one of my students was still fighting. I get in we'll call it a backstage interaction after the bout, right? One of his students it's his student and his student's mom. They're getting real chirpy with me, and she ends up smacking me across the face, right? So I'm looking at her like, did I just get smacked? That's actually how I met the guys at Element, because Slink was fighting on that card. Coach Shane, he comes and breaks it up, and he walks me off and says, "You're too good for all that," yada yada. So ever since 2.5 years ago, I've been trying to get my lick back on this boy for all the extra he's caused.
But now, would you rather have it though be kickboxing, or are you okay with it being a boxing?
So, funny enough is I think he's a better kickboxer than he's a better boxer for sure. He didn't have any amateur boxing background. He's not a good boxer at all. He's an okay kickboxer. I said I would kickbox him or I'd box him because I don't like the guy. I'll do whatever the fuck he wants to do. He said specifically he wanted to box me because because I'm 5-0, he thinks he can take away my prestige and my undefeatedness or whatever. And I said, yeah, let's box. I'd love to just box.
Okay, so November 11th, hopefully that's 10 days away. Hopefully he doesn't come up with something else and pull out on this one.
I'm praying,
So it should be an interesting weigh-in.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, all my weigh-ins, the guys don't really seem to like me when we get face-to-face. So it's nothing I'm not used to by now.
All right, so if people are watching this, man, if you guys are fans of his, this is a personal fight, man. So you guys got to tune in, buy your tickets, pay for the live stream, whatever it costs. The rest of the card is good as well. Like I said, there's some other guys on there that I've seen fight before in person. So you guys definitely want to watch this fight because anytime it's a more personable fight, it's going to be explosive. So everybody definitely, even if you just tune in just to watch this fight, man, give him his credit. Go on there for him and Ruben and definitely buy the tickets and pay for the pay-per-view. So are you ready for these 20 random questions?
I think I am.
All right. Question 1. How did you get involved in the combat sports as far as MMA, kickboxing, boxing?
Well, as a kid, K through 12, I always did folk style wrestling, so I always had that grappling background. But when I was probably 16, 17 years old, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I got in a fight with another guy over said girl. I won the fight, and I was like, you know what? That was pretty fun. Maybe we could do something with this whole fighting thing instead. And the rest was history.
So you just walked in a gym then and what?
Yeah, I went to there was a local gym here, Next Edge, which is a super good jiu-jitsu gym, but they were a little more jiu-jitsu orientated than I wanted. So I eventually I had a guy at the local wellness center that I went to. He was like one of those old school like boxing tough guys, and he was also a pastor. So he told me, "All right, Trey, if you come to Bible study on Wednesdays and you come to church on Sundays, I'll train you all those other days." So for about a year and a half, me and this pastor boxer guy, I'd go to church, he'd train me.
Okay. And then eventually, but you didn't start out in boxing though, right? You moved into boxing after the kickboxing and the MMA?
Well, in Sioux Falls in South Dakota at the time, we don't have a lot of USA boxing shows there's no amateur kickboxing in South Dakota. Very little amateur boxing, but there is a decent amount of amateur MMA opportunities. So we were focusing my hands and stuff, but given my wrestling background and that I was working my boxing and the only opportunities around at the time were MMA, I just wanted to fight people. So I was like, you know what, let's do MMA because the fights are there.
Okay. Now, speaking of girlfriends, your girlfriend that you have now, she's actually a fighter too, right?
Yeah, she's a fighter too, and she actually fights. She fights on the 22nd, so like 12 days after me, 11 days after me.
But now she's not a boxer though. She's an MMA fighter, right?
No, she hates boxing. She'll tell you that's her least favorite thing to do. She's an MMA fighter all the way. She was a state champion wrestler. She loves MMA over boxing.
Don't your brother is an MMA fighter too?
Yep, my brother, he's kind of like me, trying it all out until he figures out which one he wants to stick with. But hopefully he's gonna be kickboxing in December too. So the whole family's got fights lined up, really.
Okay. So have you sparred your girlfriend?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, listen, I always tell her I'm trying to go light on you, but like when you're beating my ass, I can't really go light. She's always like, "Why are you going so hard?" I'm like, "Cause you just hit me with the hardest overhand right you could."
No, once the bell rings, man, it's sparring. They got headgear on. It's just like fighting anybody else.
Oh yeah, she definitely doesn't care that I'm her boyfriend when we're sparring. I'll tell you that much.
I bet she doesn't. That's the only time she can get back at you for the dumb stuff you do.
Yeah, I forget to take the trash out. I know sparring's about to be bad that night.
All right, question 2. What fighters have inspired you in your career?
I would say one of the biggest ones would be UFC fighter Devin Clark, light heavyweight. He's from Sioux Falls as well, and when I was getting into the sport, he kind of guided me in the right direction. So he's a big inspiration of mine. Other than that, another guy named Jose Chepe Marisco.
Oh, you're breaking up
He's a
on
UFC 145 pounder, like a bunk bed dorm. So he kind of like big brothered me through the whole training camp. Made sure I was good, made sure I was ready, and so he's been a real help in my career.
Repeat that name, who that was, because you just broke all that up. All that just broke up.
Oh, Chepe Mariscal, Jose Mariscal, UFC 145er.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would say, like, as far as boxers that inspired me or fighters that inspired me that I didn't personally know, like my biggest ones would probably be Manny Pacquiao is a big one to come from nothing and make it something. I would say that's probably one of my biggest inspirations, rags to riches, like pulling yourself up out the mud stories. So he's probably my biggest one.
Okay. Question 3. Do you have any hobbies outside the sport of boxing?
I do. My biggest hobby outside of boxing actually is probably it's Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, I do a lot of. It's called being the dungeon master, like operating the game. So I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I read a lot of Dungeons and Dragons books. A lot of nerd stuff.
Okay. Question 5. Can you tell me about your relationship with professional boxer and MMA fighter Marty Lindquist?
Marty Lindquist. Marty is he's the guy, dude. Like when I came to fight in Minnesota the first time ever, he was in the crowd. He's a super nice guy. He was super, you could tell that he's been in the game for a while. He's got a lot of wisdom in there. And upon first meeting him, probably 3-4 years ago, he just had this immediate like friendliness about him, welcoming. He was super. It's hard. He's super. Just the nicest guy. Like you could tell he genuinely cares about you. And then to come from fighting in front of him as an amateur to I made my pro debut on the same card he ended up fighting on. It felt really awesome to get to actually. He was like one of the guys like to look up to, and now we're on the same card, and now I'm a pro boxer like him. Because that guy, he's won in the 90s, he won in the 2000s, he won in the 2010s, and he's won in the 2020s, all professional boxing matches, which is just crazy to me. To have 4 decades of wins is nuts.
So has he ever given you any advice?
He tells me to fight hard and do my best. And he's proud. The best thing about Marty, though, is I know as long as I try my best, he's proud of me either way. It doesn't matter if I win or lose. As long as I go out there and I put it down, he's going to be proud of me. Because it's not about winning or losing for Marty. It's about maximum effort in training and on fight night. Winning or losing he couldn't give a fuck less,
Okay. Question 6. Do you collect anything?
Collect? No, I wouldn't say I really collect anything. I mean, boxing shoes. I keep every pair of boxing shoes I have. I don't throw them away when I'm done with them. I just hold on to them. So I guess I collect my boxing shoes.
Okay. Question 7. Who's the one boxer, alive or dead, that you'd want to sit down and have a conversation with if you could?
Alive or dead? Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. To talk to him would be awesome.
Okay. Question 8. What's something that you're very passionate about besides combat sports and boxing?
I would say like Down syndrome awareness. I'm very passionate about like special needs volunteer work. My youngest brother Camden has Down syndrome, and we've been very close throughout both of our lives. So I would say super passionate about spread the word to end the word. Making sure like kids with special needs are seen just the same. Because it's an important thing.
Okay. Question 9. How do you inspire other people?
I would say I inspire other people by my discipline and my work effort. My students, my training partners, my coaches, they all know that I'm gonna give 110%, and I'm gonna be in the gym and I'm gonna work hard. And they all know that's all I've been doing since the start. No breaks, no excuses. I'm gonna be the first one in and I'm gonna be the last one out every day.
Okay. Question 10. If you could box in a celebrity boxing match versus any actor or athlete, who would you want your opponent to be?
I'm gonna say G-Eazy because I know my girlfriend kind of has a crush on him. So if I could box G-Eazy and knock his shit out, I'll pick him.
Okay. Question 11. Can you tell me an interesting story so far out of your boxing career? Anything.
Let me think. Yeah, okay. So it's interesting to me, at least, in my fight before my last fight. So 2 fights ago, we negotiated, and I let the other guy pick the weight. I said, pick a weight that you can make, and I'll do it. I don't care which weight you pick. Pick whatever weight, and I'll do it. And he said 138. And in Iowa, you get 1 pound, so 139. And I'm like, okay, 139, that's perfect. Show up to weigh-ins, I'm 138, he's 148, and I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously 10 pounds. You're going to need to go cut some weight. He goes back, cuts like 3 pounds, so he's like 145 or something. Whatever, fight's on. At the weigh-ins, he doesn't shake my hand, doesn't want to say nothing to me, which is fine, whatever, we're fighting. But then the next day, before the fights at the venue, he's all of a sudden like all friendly to me, trying to be all buddy-buddy, like trying to shake my hand. And I'm like, okay, maybe he was just nervous yesterday. And then we go into the fight, and I don't know if you've seen the clip, but we get to before the fight where we're supposed to touch gloves, and he does like this whole like sniper, like gonna kill me thing, and he starts talking all this shit to my face at that. And I'm like, okay, little switch. I beat his ass, and then after the fight, he was back to trying to be all nice. And I'm like, no, bro, like you can't just like, you got to pick one,
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good one. All right. Question 12. If you had to go on a cross-country road trip and you had to choose one comedian and one athlete to go with you, who would you choose?
Comedian, I'll pick probably, that's a hard one. I'll pick Shane Gills. Is that his name, Jackson?
Yeah.
Shane Gills. Shane Gills is the comedian I'd pick. And the athlete I'd pick Steph Curry. I'd pick Steph Curry.
Okay. Question 13. If you were an insect, what insect would you be?
If I was an insect, I'd be a daddy long legs. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Question 14. If you could have any musical artist walk you out to the ring for a fight, who would you choose?
Any musical artist walk me out to a fight. I'd pick 50 Cent. 50 Cent.
Okay. Question 15. If you got pulled over for speeding, what kind of lie would you make up to get out of the ticket?
I'm either on my way to training, on my way from training, or I just got back from a fight. I'm gonna slip in that I'm a professional boxer. First things first, and see what we can work around.
Okay. Question 16. If you were to start your own business, what kind of business would you start?
I'll probably start a tree service and snow removal company, because before I was a professional, when I was an amateur, I was a tree service snow removal guy.
Okay. Question 17. If you had the opportunity to spar with one world champion, who would you choose?
Floyd Mayweather.
Okay. Question 18. Why are you involved in MMA and boxing?
Because I think I see martial arts as a whole, like boxing too, as it's not you versus your opponent, right? I see it as you versus yourself every day. You aspiring to be the best version you can be every day. And I think it really provides a lot of structure and discipline in my life that without fighting in MMA, I would definitely not have, and I wouldn't be able to hold myself to.
Okay. Question 19. What's something that you are absolutely afraid of?
Pit bull dogs. I got bit by one a day before, the day of a weigh-ins, and I had to pull out of my fight, and my hand got all fucked up. And I was never scared of dogs or anything before that, but now, not even just pit bull dogs. Any dog that's like any dog you would call a big dog, I don't like being around.
Okay. Question 20, your last question. What has been the biggest accomplishment in your life up to this day?
Biggest accomplishment in my life. The biggest accomplishment in my life right now, I would say, is being the only undefeated professional boxer in South Dakota and North Dakota right now.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time out of your camp, man, to do the 20 random questions. If there's anything you want to say to sponsors or to the fans, and then we're going to promote the fight one more time.
Shout out, first things first, shout out my girl Sammy for making sure I'm right, all my camps, taking care of me. Shout out my sponsors, BHI Construction, My Mechanic Auto Care, True Health Chiropractic, Studio 65, Flyover Country. Am I missing any, Jackson? Brothers in Arms. Shout out Chase over at Brothers in Arms. He gets me right. Shout out my gym, 605. Shout out my coach Jason, my coach Ali. Shout out my brother Jackson, keeping me focused. And shout out the promoters for putting this fight together finally.
All right, don't forget our Minnesota guys for helping you out for this
Always.
fight.
Can't forget Josh Clark and Slink Proper, Shane and all them, Team Element, Team Strike Fitness.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Hey, it's gonna be third round knockout by 3 rounds. Ruben is on the ground. I guarantee it.
Wow, he just threw a prediction out there. All right, well, once again, it's Traevon the Kid Cobra Kroger versus Ruben Davis. They do not like each other. If you listen to the interview, he explained why. It is a personal fight. This is not just business. This is a grudge match. November 11th, Saturday nights are for fighting at the MVP DSM Complex, 4600 Park Avenue in Des Moines, Iowa. Scott Tolman's promotion, the Extreme Maximum Boxing. Doors open at 5. Get there early. Fight start at 6. Once again, the information for the tickets is on the bottom of my screen, nitrotickets.com. If you got to stay home, watch it online, stream it on the pay-per-view, all capital letters, bxngtv.com. Don't miss this fight, man. This is a grudge match. Anytime it's a grudge match, it's got to be good. And he just threw a prediction out there. Third round knockout. Ruben's going down.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me, man.
Hold on. And the truth has spoken.